Emma didn't shout it. She didn't need to. Her voice, low and clipped, landed sharper than a scream ever could. Keep your opinions to yourself. This house isn't yours. She said it in the living room, the one I'd rebuilt, repainted, and reclaimed after years of neglect. I had stood on ladders for hours under that ceiling, arms trembling with primer-heavy rollers, my knees sore from crawling under furniture to rewire outlets. The couch she was slouched on, legs crossed like she was holding court, was the same one I'd driven 2 hours to pick up used, then reupholstered by hand. It still carried the faint scent of the lacquer I'd used to seal the legs. And I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask her to reconsider. I just stood there for a few seconds longer than I should have, staring at a 17-year-old girl who would never see me as more than the man who showed up too late to matter. Then I turned and walked upstairs, not to cool off, but to begin the quiet process of leaving. I stopped calling it home that day. It didn't feel like mine anymore. Maybe it never had. My name's John. I'm 49 now. I met Rachel 5 years ago in a quiet corner of Tennessee, just outside Knoxville. A sun-bleached town of split levels and busted fences, where lives didn't unravel quickly. They eroded, inch by inch. Rachel was a nurse then, still is, raising 2 kids alone after her husband skipped town with a dental hygienist and a boat he couldn't afford. Her kids, Emma and her brother Ryan, were in their teens when I came into their lives. That's the worst possible age for a step-parent. They're too old to want a new father, too young to respect what that word actually means. Still, I believed we had a shot. Rachel was kind back then. She laughed at my dry jokes and sat close during movies. When she and the kids moved into my house, I told myself we were starting a life together. That this time it would stick. That I was building something stronger than blood. The house, that was my pride. An old brick place on a quiet street with overgrown oaks and a chimney that leaned just slightly to the east. I'd bought it as a foreclosure, gutted it myself over the years. New drywall, new fixtures, insulation, tile, everything. There wasn't a square foot in that house that didn't carry my signature, some callus or bruise earned from making it livable. I built the kitchen island from reclaimed barn wood. The porch swing came from a thrift store I rebuilt with new chains and sealed against the rain. Every corner was mine. When they moved in, I gave them everything. I let Emma take the bigger upstairs room, the one with the double window and morning light. Ryan got the guest room, and I moved my tools into the garage to make space for their things. I didn't protest when they repainted over the colors I had chosen. Rachel wanted lavender for the master bedroom. I hated it, but I said yes. I paid off her car loan. I added them to my health insurance. They never asked who paid for the Wi-Fi, or who stocked the pantry with their favorite snacks, or how the utility bills always got paid before they saw the notice. They didn't ask because they didn't want to know. And I didn't make them. I wanted to be accepted, not pitted. So I worked. I provided. I stayed quiet. When Emma needed help with her college applications, I stayed up late proofreading her essays, even when she didn't say thank you. When Ryan needed a ride to practice, I left work early, unpaid. I bought them birthday presents their own father forgot to send. I stood in the background of every school play, soccer game, and science fair. Never the guest of honor. Always the man with a camera, clapping a little too hard. For a time, I believed that silence was patience. That invisibility was love. That time would eventually buy me a seat at the table. But I was wrong. Little things began to disappear. Old photos of my parents, gone from the hallway shelf. A framed picture of me fishing with my brother, replaced by one of Emma at prom. My grandfather's hunting knife, which I kept in the drawer beside my bed. Missing. Probably misplaced, Rachel said. It wasn't malice. It was something worse. Erasure. Emma called me John in front of her friends, always with a slight edge. Ryan parroted the same distance, even as he used the gas card I paid for. They never once introduced me as their stepfather. Just Rachel's boyfriend. Even years in, I wasn't building a family. I was maintaining one that didn't want me there. And then Emma said it. That sentence. This house isn't yours. Not this house isn't home. Not you're not our father. No, it was a direct denial of ownership. As if I was a squatter in my own walls. A trespasser on ground I'd paid for. I felt something sink in me then, deep and final. Not a wound. A grave. That night, I sat in the garage with a beer and my tool set, inventorying what still belonged to me. My socket set, my drill, the photo albums I'd kept sealed in a box labeled before, my high school yearbooks, a few books, not much really, just enough to prove I had once existed outside this family, outside this illusion I had stitched together with paychecks and silence. I didn't confront Rachel. What was the point? She wouldn't fight for me. She never had. When Ryan left his dirty cleats on the staircase, I stepped over them. When Emma snapped at me for hovering while I asked about her day, I smiled and left the room. When Rachel began saying, "I'm tired more often than thank you," I nodded and kissed her forehead. I had already begun disappearing. I just had to finish the job. In the weeks that followed, I pulled back. Subtle at first. I stopped joining them for dinner unless invited, and I rarely was. I rerouted my paychecks to a new account across town, one Rachel didn't know about. I opened a P.O. box and started transferring mail. I met with a lawyer, told him what I wanted, to sign the house over. Clean. No strings. Just hand it to them, like a parting gift they hadn't earned. He asked me, "Are you sure you want to give it up?" I said, "It was never really mine." By the end of that month, my name was still on the mortgage, but my heart wasn't in the house. I started renting a small one-bedroom in Chattanooga, nothing fancy, just clean, quiet, mine. Every evening, I brought over one more thing. A mug, a chair, my toolbox, my father's flannel jacket. Like I was smuggling my identity out under their noses. Not because I feared they'd stop me, but because they wouldn't notice I was going. They hadn't noticed when I arrived, either. By the time I stood in that empty living room, alone, keys in hand, I looked around at everything I had once called home. The fireplace, the walls I painted, the shelves I built, and I felt nothing but fatigue. The kind of weariness that doesn't scream, but sinks, like rot in the bones of a house. They'd won, I guess, if winning meant claiming something they hadn't earned. And me? I left behind everything but my voice. And even that I'd stopped using long ago. First, it was little things. Words left out. Invitations that never arrived. Glances exchanged between Rachel and the kids that didn't include me. I told myself I was being paranoid. Reading too much into silence. Inventing slights where there were none. But no, the erasure was real. I wasn't Rachel's husband anymore. I was the guy in the house. That's how Emma referred to me once. Not even directly. She said it on the phone, walking past me in the hallway. Yeah, I still live with my mom and the guy she married. Not my stepdad. Not even John. Just the guy. Like I was part of the plumbing. Something necessary, but unseen. They started inviting people over without telling me. Birthday parties, cookouts, sleepovers. Our home turned into a hostel, loud with strangers. I'd come home to cars lined along the street, music spilling from the windows, kids laughing in the kitchen. And no one thought to ask me if it was okay. Not even Rachel. If I said anything. If I asked, gently, "Hey, next time could we talk before inviting 10 people over?" I'd be met with the same tired phrase. "It's not your house." Rachel never said it directly, but she never stopped them either. She'd just shrug, give that tight smile like she was caught between two tides and too tired to swim. "They're just kids," she'd say. Or worse, "Don't take it personally." But how could I not? I was paying for everything. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance. Ryan's car insurance, too, once he passed his driver's test. I even co-signed Emma's student loan because her father didn't show up for the meeting. Every month, my paycheck was devoured by a family that treated me like a ghost. A necessary expense, like property tax or toilet paper. Still, I stayed. For a while. I told myself I was overreacting. That families were messy, especially blended ones. That Emma and Ryan would come around eventually. That Rachel loved me. She just didn't know how to show it when her kids were watching. But time didn't soften them. to sharpen the edge. I noticed my things disappearing. Photos of my parents, gone from the hallway shelves. A framed picture of my brother and me at the lake, replaced by Emma's graduation portrait. I found my books boxed up and moved to the garage without a word. My chair in the living room was pushed aside to make room for some beanbag Ryan ordered online. My tools, my own damn tools, went missing one by one, borrowed without permission, never returned. When I asked, Rachel would say, "I think Ryan used them." Like that explained anything. I was being phased out. Not in a blow-up, not in a screaming match, but in the slow, surgical way people erase the past. A little more each week, until nothing of me remained. So I stopped waiting for things to fix themselves. I stopped hoping. I made a plan. It started in small, invisible ways like all retreats do. I opened a new checking account under my name only. Rerouted my direct deposit. Left the joint account untouched so nothing looked suspicious. I canceled the shared credit cards, paid off the balances and cut them in half before sliding them into a drawer I'd never open again. I began collecting the pieces of myself. My grandfather's watch, the one Rachel said made me look too old. I took it from the drawer and wore it daily. My tools. I hunted every last one down, cleaned and organized them into the red steel chest I'd kept locked in the garage. Photo albums, personal letters, the first edition novels from my college years. I carried them one load at a time to a storage unit I rented across town. Nothing big, just a space where I could breathe. Next came the apartment. A quiet one-bedroom near my office in Chattanooga. Unfurnished, clean. The kind of place where nothing carried the weight of someone else's history. I signed the lease in silence, paid the first 3 months up front, and told no one. Each week, I brought a little more. A lamp, a chair, a box of records I hadn't played in years. Bit by bit, I vanished from my old life without raising suspicion. It wasn't spite. It was survival. Then came the house. Could have kept it. Legally, it was mine. Bought years before Rachel and I ever met. Every repair, every upgrade, every damn dollar in that foundation had my name on it. But what would that prove? I didn't want to fight over territory they'd already claimed as theirs. I wanted to be free, so I transferred the deed. Signed it over to Rachel. No strings, no alimony, no monthly help. I didn't want revenge. I wanted to stop bleeding. I paid the final mortgage installment myself. Left the records in a manila folder. Mortgage docs, utility transfer forms, insurance changes. Everything neat. Everything accounted for. No loose ends. Then I waited. One last act left. The goodbye. Came on a Saturday morning. Pancakes, bacon, fresh coffee, the smell of normality. I made breakfast like I always did, acting like nothing had changed. Ryan came down in sweatpants, grabbed a plate without looking at me. Emma arrived 10 minutes later, still half asleep, scrolling her phone. Rachel sat across from me, a robe cinched at the waist, hair pulled back, eyes tired. She looked at the folder on the table but didn't touch it. "What's this?" she asked. "My last gift," I said. Emma glanced up. "Wait. Are you seriously leaving?" I looked at her, at the face of a girl who had lived in my house for 5 years and never once said thank you. "I already did. That was all." Rachel opened the folder. I watched her face change as she read the deed transfer, the utility statements, the closed accounts. Her mouth parted like she wanted to speak, but no words came. "This house isn't mine anymore," I said. "Just like I'm not yours." The room fell silent. I didn't wait for protest. I didn't ask for understanding. I stood, took my keys, and walked out the door for the last time. No tears, no hugs. Just the low sound of a fork scraping an empty plate as I stepped off the porch I'd built, past the flower beds I'd planted, toward a car no one ever thanked me for gassing up. And just like that, I was free. But freedom doesn't mean silence. Within days, the calls began. Rachel first. Confused. "Where's the checkbook?" she asked. "I need to pay the gas bill." Later. "How do I adjust the thermostat? I think the settings changed." Then, 2 weeks in, "Could you help with the mortgage just this once?" "We're behind this month." I said no. Every time, no. I gave them the house. They claimed it wasn't mine. Now they own the mortgage, the bills, the broken fence, the leaking faucet, the lawn that grew too fast. They wanted independence. Now they had it. Emma posted something on Instagram. A photo of the living room, my living room, captioned, "Finally just us again. No tension." The comments were cruel. Friends chiming in about stepdad energy, and men who act like landlords. Ryan uploaded an old picture of me teaching him to drive, with the caption, "So much for father figures." I didn't reply. I didn't watch. I was busy building again, this time for no one but me. They erased me from the picture, so I let them have the frame. That Saturday morning, I woke up before dawn. The house was still, cold. You could hear the refrigerator hum through the silence. I moved like I always had, quiet, efficient, out of habit. I fried bacon, whisked batter, poured coffee. The kitchen windows fogged from the heat. The sun hadn't even broken yet, and already I was moving like a man preparing his own execution. I didn't do it for sentiment. I didn't want a scene. I didn't need tears or tantrums. I just wanted one more morning where everything looked whole, even if it never had been. The pancakes were perfect, golden. I cooked them slow, just like Ryan liked. I remembered to slice the bananas for Emma's. I laid the table with care, syrup, butter, 3 glasses of orange juice, even folded napkins. The folder sat in the middle like a coffin. Manila, sealed, heavy with finality. Rachel came downstairs first. Hair damp from a shower, the faint scent of shampoo following her like a ghost. She wore one of my old flannels, sleeves rolled up. She poured herself coffee without saying good morning. We hadn't exchanged real words in weeks. Not since the night she said offhandedly, "You've been distant lately," as if I owed her an explanation. She noticed the folder, frowned, but didn't ask. Ryan came next. He grunted something, slid into his seat, headphones in. He didn't look at me, didn't thank me. His fork stabbed the stack like it owed him something. I watched the syrup drip down his knuckles. A child pretending to be a man. Emma arrived last, already dressed, makeup done, like she was on her way somewhere more important than here. She took her seat, phone in hand, eyes not even bothering to glance around. Then I sat. For 5 minutes, the only sounds were chewing, swallowing, and the clink of silverware against ceramic. No conversation, no warmth. Just 3 people sharing air and a table that I had built with my own hands. Then Rachel asked, "What's that?" Her finger pointed toward the folder. I reached forward, pushed it gently toward her side of the table. "You should read it." She opened it. Pages slid out, crisp and precise. I'd had them notarized the day before. Deed transfer, mortgage statements, utility accounts, health insurance, car title. Every shared tether, every joint obligation dissolved. She read the first page. Her mouth fell open slightly, then closed. She flipped to the next and the next. Her breathing changed. Slower, sharper. Emma looked up. "What is it?" Rachel didn't speak. Couldn't. So I did. "It's done," I said. "The house, the bills, everything. You're free of me." Emma blinked. "Wait. Are you seriously leaving?" "I already did." I took a sip of my coffee. It was cold now, bitter. "You can't just, abandon us?" she said. "You think this is fair?" I smiled, but not with my mouth. "This isn't about fair. This is about truth." Ryan pulled his headphones off. "So what, you're not gonna pay for anything now?" "No. You're just done?" "Exactly." Rachel's voice broke in. Soft, almost pleading. "John, you can't just walk out. We have a life here." "No, Rachel. You have a house." I had a sentence handed to me in this room. Right here, remember? Emma told me this wasn't my house. So I believed her. Her face crumpled like old paper. "That's not what she meant." "Yes, it is. And it's fine. I just made it true on paper." Silence. Thick. Ugly. Ryan looked down at his plate, then up at me. "What about the car insurance?" Your name's on it now. I don't know how to pay that. Then you'll learn. Emma crossed her arms. This is pathetic. You're just bitter because we didn't worship you. No, I said. I'm tired of paying to be invisible. Rachel closed the folder. Her hands were shaking. So what now? Now you live the life you claimed was already yours. No interference. No obligations. No illusions. Emma pushed her chair back. Unbelievable. Ryan followed. Whatever. I never asked you for anything. I laughed, quiet and bitter. Yeah, that's the problem. They left the table. Just me and Rachel. Her voice came soft, almost a whisper. I didn't know you were this angry. I'm not angry, I said. I'm done. She reached across the table. Her fingers brushed mine. Is this really what you want? I didn't flinch. It's what I needed. She nodded. Not in agreement. Just understanding. I stood. I'll come by next week to get the last of my things. The rest is yours. The deed's in your name now. No alimony. No debts. Rachel looked down at her lap. I thought we had more time. We ran out the day I stopped being seen. I walked to the door, picked up my keys, my coat, nothing else. As I stepped outside, the cold hit my skin. December sun. Sharp. Clean. Behind me I left a breakfast table. A house. A family-shaped hole. But I also left something heavier. Their dependence. Their assumptions. Their quiet, endless entitlement. They thought I'd never leave. They thought they could take and never feel the emptiness of what I gave. Now the silence was theirs to carry. By Monday the calls began. Rachel first. Where's the checkbook? Then, the water bill's overdue. I didn't know how much it was. Then, can you cover it? Just this once? I said no. Then Emma texted. Can I borrow the gas card? Just for this week? I left her on read. Ryan tried next. Hey, where's the password for the Wi-Fi router? I didn't respond. They wanted the house. Now they had it. Bills, responsibility, silence, the whole thing. Emma posted on Instagram. A picture of her feet on the coffee table I built. Captioned, no more fake family vibes. Ryan posted a picture of us fishing years ago. Captioned, so much for loyalty. I didn't reply. I was too busy learning what it felt like to breathe again. To live in a space without tension. Without walking on eggshells around teenagers who believed my presence was optional. I kept waiting for one of them to say thank you. They never did. They just looked at the emptiness I left like it owed them something. But I left them exactly what they claimed they wanted. A life without me. And they'd either survive it or learn from it. But I wouldn't be there to watch. 8 months passed. No phone calls. No visits. No holidays shared. Christmas came and went, quiet. I bought myself a single gift. A second-hand leather chair and a good bottle of whiskey. I spent the morning watching snow collect on my windowsill while the city slept. No one called to ask where I was. No one asked if I was coming by. Rachel didn't even send a message. Neither did the kids. I didn't expect them to. I had trained them, through years of quiet sacrifice, that I existed to serve, not to be seen. Once the service ended, so did the need for me. And that was the truth I carried into my new life. My apartment was small but clean. No shouting. No slammed doors. No footsteps at midnight. No tension crawling across the dinner table like smoke. Just me and silence. The kind of silence that doesn't accuse. It waits. It listens. It heals. At first, I tried to pretend it didn't ache. That I didn't miss anything. But I did. I missed the sound of laughter, even if it wasn't meant for me. I missed the clatter of plates, the murmur of someone coming home. I missed the way Rachel used to fall asleep with her hand resting on my chest. Back when she still saw me as a man worth reaching for. I missed the idea of family, even if it had never really been mine. But I didn't go back. Not once. Not for mail. Not for closure. I had already buried the man who waited to be invited into his own life. I wasn't going to dig him up again. Then one afternoon my phone buzzed. An email. From Emma. No subject line. Just her name. That alone was enough to freeze my breath. She wrote, "I didn't think you'd really leave. I was angry. I didn't mean it like that. I just copied Ryan. He always hated you. I guess I thought if I took his side, he'd stop making fun of me. I'm in college now. Dorm life sucks, but I got a part-time job at the bookstore. I pay my own phone bill. Kind of crazy, right? I just wanted to say sorry. You didn't deserve how we treated you. You were the only one who showed up. No signature. No emojis. Just silence after the last period. Like she didn't know how to end something that was never allowed to begin. I stared at it for hours. I didn't reply. Not at first. Not because I was angry, I wasn't. I was just tired. Tired of being needed only in crisis. Tired of apologies that came after the damage was done, when the cleanup was already mine to carry. But I didn't delete it either. I read it again the next morning. And again that night. 3 days later, I wrote back, "Thank you for writing. I'm glad you're working. It'll make you strong in ways nothing else can. I'm not angry anymore, but I needed to go. I hope you understand that now. Let me know if you want to meet for coffee sometime." She responded within an hour. "Yeah, I'd like that." We met the next week. A diner off the freeway, neutral ground. She wore a heavy sweater, hair pulled back. Looked older, a little thinner. Not fragile, just worn. The way life wears on you when you finally have to carry it yourself. She paid for her own coffee. We talked like adults. Not about the past. Not yet. Just surface things, class schedules, rude customers, books she hated selling. I let her speak. She let me listen. After the second coffee, she looked up at me and said, "Do you ever miss the house?" I thought about that. I thought about the walls I painted, the floor I refinished, the porch I built in August heat. I thought about dinners that ended in silence, doors that closed behind my words, the way my footsteps echoed like an apology no one had asked for. Then I answered, "Sometimes, but mostly, I miss who I was before I shrank myself to fit someone else's story." She nodded, didn't argue. We met a few more times that year. No promises, no expectations. She never asked for money. I never offered. It was clean, civil, unburdened. Once she asked, "Do you think Mom ever loved you?" I said, "I think she loved what I made her life look like." She didn't push further. She didn't have to. Some truths land too cleanly to question. Ryan never reached out. Not once. He posted a few things online, vague jabs about men who abandon their families and fake role models. But I didn't respond. He wanted rage. I gave him silence. It's heavier. It lingers. Rachel sent a letter once. Handwritten. 5 pages of memory and regret. She said she missed me. That the house was falling apart. The porch sagging. The garage leaking. That bills stacked faster than she could pay them. That she was tired. "I didn't realize what you were holding together," she wrote. Too late. I didn't reply. It wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. Because here's the truth. Love without respect isn't love. It's dependency. Discomfort dressed in neglect. I don't miss them. I miss the version of myself I used to believe they could see. Now I see him clearly. I carry him forward. Quietly. Carefully. I started painting again. Not walls, canvases. Big, abstract things. Messy, loud, unapologetic. I hang them in my apartment. No one tells me to take them down. No one replaces them with school portraits or framed vacation photos I wasn't invited to be part of. This space is mine. Every inch. And I've learned something. You don't get credit for dying slowly in someone else's name. No one builds statues for men who let themselves disappear quietly, for the good of others who never asked for their sacrifice. The world only remembers you if you stand up and walk away. So I walked. Now, when people ask if I have kids, I say, sort of. If they press, I say, it's complicated. But I don't carry shame in my voice. Just history. We all survive something. I survived a home that never saw me. Now I build something else. Something smaller. Something real. Emma still emails sometimes. She tells me about exams. About the customers who leave change on the counter and call her sweetheart, like she's invisible. She says now she understands what it means to be needed without being known. I tell her, don't let it last too long. She says she won't. We're not a family. Not really. But we're honest now. And sometimes, honesty is the beginning of something better than love. Something rarer, more fragile, something chosen. As for Rachel, she's just a chapter. I don't reread it. I don't hate her. I just don't miss her. She made her choice in silence. And now I live in mine. I don't ask to be seen anymore. I see myself. That's enough. But I'll leave you with this. If you give years of your life to people who cannot say your name without flinching, if you build a home for a family that treats your presence like static, if you hand over every ounce of who you are just to hear, you're not our real dad, ask yourself, when is the bill paid in full? And when it is, would you have the courage to walk? Because I did. And I don't regret it. Not one step,